Most of us aren't super thrilled to bump into a leech, given that they are blood-sucking parasites who are not picky about who they snack on. Interestingly, though, that lack of pickiness means any given leech may contain blood from a wide variety of species. And that makes leeches an unexpected ally for scientists trying to track endangered wildlife. And the best part is, you don't have to look very hard to find leeches. If you got blood in your body, they will happily find you. So let's get into exactly what makes these bitey little blood libraries so helpful. A key part of protecting endangered animals is understanding which species live where and how their home ranges might be changing. To track wildlife distribution, scientists can set up traps, put out cameras, and collect hair and poop, but these methods can be difficult and time-consuming, especially for the rarest species in hard-to-reach places like dense jungles. One handy alternative is to use environmental DNA, or eDNA, genetic material left behind by animals in their environment. This DNA can be sampled from soil or water and identified using a technique called barcoding, which means looking for short snippets of DNA that are unique to certain species. And soil and water are not the only sources of those genetic leftovers. We can also collect DNA from the bellies of leeches. Lots of leeches get their nutrition by sucking blood from other animals. Their digestion is pretty slow, so that blood can linger in their tummies for months. And a DNA test can identify what species they recently fed upon. This technique was pioneered in a 2012 study, which sampled DNA from 25 terrestrial leeches collected from tropical forests in Vietnam. The researchers found DNA from 6 different mammal species, some of which hadn't been recorded from that area before. This included Annamite-striped rabbits, which hadn't been observed in the region even after more than 2,000 nights of camera footage. That study showed that leeches can be a great source of DNA for hard-to-find animals. This technique has come to be called invertebrate-derived DNA, or iDNA. On top of all that, leeches are really easy to collect. Researchers simply wander through the forest, and before long, their clothes are covered in leeches looking for a meal. It's as convenient as it is creepy. And we do mean on the clothes, by the way. Leeches found actually on the scientists are generally excluded due to the contamination from Homo sapiens. Since that 2012 study, more research has expanded this technique with even more promising results. A 2018 study collected over 700 leeches across Southeast Asia and identified the DNA of dozens of species of birds and mammals of various sizes and habits. That study found that the leeches are an especially good source of DNA for small mammals like rodents and shrews, which can be extra hard to find using other survey methods. One leech in that study even had bat DNA in its stomach, which was news to the researchers who didn't know that these particular leeches ever fed on bats. How exactly it got hold of a bat, we do not know. All this is great news for scientists hoping to help endangered species. This leech-derived DNA can help researchers identify which animals live where, including rare species. And that data then helps us understand which regions are most important in order to focus our conservation efforts.
This SciShow video is supported by Brilliant, the online learning platform with thousands of lessons in computer science, math, and science. All of their courses have interactive elements, whether they're puzzles, quizzes, or case studies. And that's because learning is more fun that way. But also because it's been shown to be 6 times more effective than listening to a lecture. When you get to solve problems yourself, you can take that knowledge with you and apply it to real-life situations. Like their data content lets you learn from real data on everything from Spotify to Starbucks. For interactive learners who want to gain knowledge they can use in their daily lives, Brilliant has everything you need. To get started, head over to brilliant.org/scishow or the link in the description. That link will also give you 20% off an annual premium Brilliant subscription, and you'll get your first 30 days free.
Already, scientists are putting this novel technique into action. A 2022 study gathered DNA from over 30,000 leeches in a nature reserve in China. They had more than 150 park rangers help them out by collecting leeches during their regular patrols of the park. And once again, all they had to do was pick the leeches off of the ground or off of their clothes. And from those samples, not only did researchers identify DNA from threatened and endangered species, but they were also able to track the spatial distribution of the species across across the park. They found that native species were most common in the interior of the park and less common around the edges in areas with high human activity and lots of livestock. Another study in Borneo found a similar pattern, where leech-derived DNA revealed a lower wildlife diversity in parts of the forest that had been disturbed by logging or other human activities. Which means these leeches are actually helping scientists to track how our activities are affecting wildlife. And there is even more potential to be tapped. For example, not all leeches are terrestrial bloodsuckers. One study in 2022 sampled a variety of parasitic and predatory leeches and found gut DNA from fish, insects, worms, and even other leeches. Some researchers have also pointed out that leeches might even contain DNA from diseases in the blood of their prey. This could help us track the spread of diseases which can threaten endangered species, or ones that could potentially spread from wildlife to us humans. Now, with all that said, leech-derived DNA is not a perfect tool. For one thing, even the least picky leeches don't feed on literally everything. There might be animals that the leeches don't like to eat or don't regularly encounter, like the bat that I mentioned, because, you know, the wings. Those animals are likely to end up mostly missing from these leech surveys. Also, we don't have a perfect understanding of how far a leech might travel after eating, which can make it tricky to track wildlife distribution with precision. Also, some leeches are protected species themselves. Certain types of medicinal leeches are classified as species of concern, so it's best to avoid bothering them for these studies, and that means not all leeches can be used for this kind of research. So, leech DNA is not a perfect fix to all of our wildlife sampling woes, but it is absolutely something we can use side by side with methods like cameras and other sources of environmental DNA. And leeches are not the only source of invertebrate-derived DNA. Other studies have had similar luck sampling DNA from other bugs that eat blood, dung, or carrion, including flies, beetles, ticks, and mosquitoes. The world is full of little critters happily collecting genetic samples from their neighbors. Protecting wildlife is hard work, and we need as much information as we can get to do it right. But it turns out there are loads of animals out there with tummies full of data. In the future, we might owe our conservation successes to the parasitic bloodsuckers of our world.